Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from overall-5812. AITA for not giving my parents half of my pay because they said they only kept me around for my money. So, I, 22M, recently got a full-time job and moved back home temporarily to save money. My parents immediately demanded half of my paycheck every month, claiming it was my duty as their son. I was willing to contribute something, but half? That felt extreme. When I pushed back, they got nasty. One night during an argument, my mom outright said, "We only kept you around because you'd eventually pay us back. You owe us for everything we spent raising you." My dad agreed, laughing that I was their retirement plan. I was stunned and hurt, but I had the presence of mind to save the convo using Reclip. I didn't say much after that and just focused on planning my next move. A few days later, I visited my grandparents, who have always been kind and supportive, and played them the Reclip. They were horrified. Long story short, my grandparents offered to let me move in with them. They told my parents they were cutting them off financially until they learned how to treat me properly. Now my parents are furious, calling me a manipulative brat and saying I've ruined the family dynamic. OP is not the AH. His parents saw him as a financial investment rather than a son. Their entitlement justified his decision to leave. Their anger stems from losing control, not from OP doing anything wrong. He simply protected himself, for which he has every right. As for scores, I would rate OP 0, and OP's parents 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Melon. Am I the AH for telling my friend's girlfriend that he cheated on her? I, 21F, have a really good friend I consider as a brother. Let's call him Theo, 21M. He has a girlfriend we will call Alexa, 20F, and they have been dating for 4 years now. For context, Theo has always had the reputation of the bad boy heartthrob, and we met in college. Girls usually throw themselves at him, and he usually does not set boundaries with them, which is something that I personally think is a red flag. But I kept that to myself. When I met him, he flirted with me, and I pushed him away because he's not my type. And I also figured he had a long-distance girlfriend whom he introduced me to a while ago. I thought he was a POS for that, but with time, I gave him a chance as a friend, and we became really close at some point. Alexa and I also got along really good, and I genuinely love that girl. She's beautiful both in and out. Before I met Theo, he and Alexa had gotten in a really bad fight about a rumor of him cheating. Separated for 4 months, but she ended up taking him back. Their past is none of business, and watching them together now was really nice, so I genuinely thought they were going to get engaged at some point. However, I still see a lot of Theo's red flags, and have caught him flirting with a lot of girls on campus. I say it's none of my business, and go on about my day. Then, a few months ago, Theo told me he had been ghosting Alexa for 5 days because he had no energy to talk to her. Theo is someone who keeps to himself when he has issues, and Alexa likes to talk it out. He said that Alexa wasn't giving him space, despite them being in an LDR. On the same day, he confessed to me that he had a crush on a mutual friend of ours. Let's call her Abby, 21F. I could tell that Abby also had a crush on Theo, and I was very sad about it, because I really liked Alexa. Alexa and I had spoken a few times before, and we had become friends too, so I just texted her to ask if she's okay. She started crying and opening up about her relationship with Theo. I stayed quiet about whatever Theo was doing in college, but a few days later she texted me, letting me that she was going to break up with him. She told me it wasn't the first time Theo did this, and she was sick of him. I agreed with her decision, despite feeling bad for Theo, because he's still my friend. We talked some more, and she told me that his inability to set boundaries with his other girlfriends pisses her off, but she's never had this issue with me because I have always set clear boundaries with Theo. I listened to her rant some more whilst preparing to go to the club with my friends the same night. That night, I got faced during the pre-game, but I remember seeing Theo and Abby getting really close to each other. Even my sober friends pointed it out, and I drunkenly cursed at him for doing that to Alexa. Abby just looked at me and kept on touching his face. I was mad but too drunk to say more, so I just passed out after clubbing. The following day, Theo came to my place and admitted that he and Abby went back home together. Apparently, they didn't hook up because Theo told me that they only watched movies then slept. You see, personally, I still wouldn't take that. I lost respect for both Theo and Abby, and when Alexa texted me again, I told her to be careful about Theo and Abby. I didn't tell her what they did, but I just told her to watch out. After that, they got in a big fight, broke up, and Theo stopped hanging out with me that much. I didn't care because for me, cheating is cheating. We were still friends, but I couldn't look at him the same. You think the story ends here, but nope, it's only just begun. A month later, they got back together, and Alexa came to visit Theo on campus. I felt a bit guilty about their previous breakup, because I felt like I played a part in it. I stayed away from both of them, but we were all still friends, so we did see each other a handful of times. None of them brought up what happened earlier, and Theo and Abby were also distanced from each other. After Alexa went back home, a new girl came to uni. Let's name her Chels. Well, she's very beautiful but unfriendly as so I never bothered myself with her. Until Theo announces that he has a crush on her. I was like, whatever bro, you do you. During Halloween, I got faced at a party again and had a heart-to-heart with Theo. He told me he was on a break with Alexa and he was having some issues. He saw Chels as a getaway and they got close. They flirted with each all night and went clubbing together. I just went back home and ignored everything. Last week, Alexa texted me again and she brought up what happened earlier. She thanked me for looking out for her, and I told her it was the very least I could do, as I hated watching girls make a fool out of themselves with their boyfriends. She deserved so much more, and I let her know that. Then she started crying again. She looked messy as hell, and she had even lost weight since Theo and her fought, and went on a break. This time, she told me she was done with him, and asked me to be brutally honest with her. I told her I don't believe her, because they will end up getting back to each other, and I don't want to be the villain. But she cried so much, and told me she found out what happened earlier. Another mutual friend of ours told her about Theo and Abby, and she wanted to hear the whole truth from me because she trusts me. I told her to ask Theo, cause him, and I aren't close anymore. However, she kept on begging, and right at that moment, I saw Theo and Chels all dressed up and going out together, because Theo and I are neighbors. I ended up cracking and telling her everything as it happened, not hiding stuff to protect Theo anymore. She was devastated and confronted him about it, but he denied it all. At that moment, I said no thanks to the drama because I had exams. I wished Alexa good luck, told her I always had her back, but I do not wish to associate myself with Theo again. Theo didn't speak to me since that day. We never confronted each other, but Alexa and I still talk about life and regular stuff. Today, Theo texted me the classic, "We need to talk," and I know it's going to be about Alexa. Before talking to him, I just want to know, was I the AH here? OP is not the AH. Theo repeatedly disrespected Alexa, and OP only told the truth when Alexa begged for honesty. Loyalty shouldn't protect a serial cheater. If Theo valued his relationship, he wouldn't have given OP anything to expose. As for scores, I would rate OP 0 and Theo 4 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump onto the next story from Bernverng. AITA for not telling my ex-girlfriend I was thinking about breaking up. I, 22M, had been dating my girlfriend, 21F, for around 4 or 5 months, and we had been friends before that for almost 3 years. I know opinions are split on this, but I date to marry, so if I pick up on something that makes me incompatible with someone in the long run, I usually take it as a sign to not take things too much further, even if I'm enjoying it in the long run, because I believe that if you wait to break something off when you already know it won't work, it'll only hurt worse down the line. So, that being said, my ex had really bad body image issues, which on their own wouldn't cause any compatibility problems. I was sympathetic, and did my best to remind her how beautiful and attractive I found her. I just wish she could have seen that herself. I had dated people with body image issues before, as I think most people have, so it wasn't really anything new to me either. A lot of people have body issues. I don't 100% love my body either, but her issues really got to her. At the beginning of the relationship, when we were having sex more, it never lasted more than maybe 10 minutes at maximum before she got too self-conscious and wanted to stop. This didn't make me mad by any means, but it was disheartening seeing her get so down on herself, and slightly frustrating rarely getting to finish, and actually never getting to make her finish. Just so it said, I love being a giver in bed, and get off on getting my partners off. No partner I'd had regular sex sex with had ever told me they had an issue getting off with me, so never getting her there along with not having much sex in general did start to get to my head. A little after a month into the relationship, I noticed that even when I would initiate, she wouldn't want to do anything at all. After a couple times of that, she told me that because of her body image issues and being on SSRIs that her libido is pretty infrequent and can often go away for a couple weeks at a time, where she does not feel aroused at all and doesn't even feel like doing anything on her own. This didn't bother me at the time, and I told her that. But a couple weeks slowly became 2 months where I was lucky to kiss my girlfriend for 5 straight seconds. She wouldn't even want initiate kissing, and wasn't cold towards me emotionally, but she had absolutely no interest in. A few times during this period, she asked me at different points if it bothered me. Each time I said no, but each time I was asked I was considering more and more whether I could deal with this for life. I did lie, but to my knowledge this was something she had no control over, and I saw no reason as to why I should get along on this ride with me. I mean, really, should I have said, yes, it's bothering me, and I'm wondering whether I can stay with you or not because of it? During this time, I also started trying to ask questions here and there to find out what I was in store for, if I did want to stay with them. After me asking, I found out that it can last months at a time. After one of these questions, she cried because I was not being nearly as subtle as I thought I was. I was never mad at her or judging her, but after about a month of not having contact, I was seriously starting to wonder whether I could deal with it and wanted to try to get more information without straight up telling my girlfriend, I'm thinking about breaking up with you because of this. Eventually, after a little over 2 months of this, I finally realized I wasn't going to be able to deal with it for life. I was crushed, my girlfriend was my best friend, and I thought we were compatible for a lot of other reasons. But I think I was a little at ease because we always said we would stay friends after. My plan was to just kind of vaguely say we were incompatible. I don't know what I thought I was going to manage that became her first question was, did you lie to me about my libido? And I told her yes. She was very upset and said that if I told her it was an issue she could have worked on it more in therapy, although she never posed it as something that could be worked through. She's already in therapy, and I guess I figured she already would be. I guess. I also didn't want to talk to her about it, because I was worried she might force herself to have sex with me, which would make me hate myself. She told me she wouldn't have done that. If I had any idea it could have been, I wouldn't have broken up, because breaking up meant I thought there was no way around it. She also said that the questions I asked about it made it obvious I was expecting her to do something, but I was only ever trying to figure out if it was something I could deal with for life. My questions were, has it lasted longer than this before? Does it usually last this long, etc.? I never wanted her to feel pressured, I just wanted to know what I was in for. After some arguing and a couple days apart, she said she does not want to be friends because I wasn't honest. I'm crushed. I feel like I lost my best friend because I wanted to keep her safe. My last relationship I hung on too long and regretted it, and I didn't want to do that here. All along it could have been worked on though, apparently. I feel like I tried to do the right thing and still ended up screwing up. Also, I'm sure I'll get some mean comments here for reasons, which is fine, but I appreciate any genuine feedback. Thank you. OP is an AH for not being upfront. While his feelings were valid, he would have given his ex a chance to work on it. However, he wasn't malicious, just misguided in trying to protect her while making his decision. So as for score, I would rate OP 1.5 and OP's X 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from past_incident 919. AITA for being extremely anxious when around BIL because of what he did. I can't get over it. I, 20F, just moved to the USA from Canada after months of preparation to be with my husband, 23M, and begin our family. I'm currently 24 weeks pregnant with a beautiful baby boy. While we were discussing living arrangements until we finish up saving to purchase our home, my in-laws invited us to live with them. They're very sweet, supportive people towards me and my husband. They live in a large house with my husband's autistic brothers, P, 25M, and S, 19M. I get along fairly well with S, but I can only handle P in smaller doses because he tends to be difficult, especially when he doesn't get his way. Long story short, he never helps around the house like everyone else. He spends all day at his computer desk doing whatever, and if we all plan something, he's usually the first to complain. Everyone knows what he's like, and doesn't want to deal with it. I try to be understanding because I know how autism works. Some things aren't in his control, but I won't lie and say everyone is okay with the constant nagging. Before moving in, I was notified about something he had previously done. He spent thousands of dollars on OF girls. He wasn't allowed to have much access to the internet afterwards, so I thought nothing of it. It's not my business, and I assumed it was years ago. Fast forward to yesterday evening. My husband had just fallen asleep, and I was watching a show quietly on my cell phone on Netflix when I saw a strange notification from his email telling him his subscription to his OF girls have expired. Then it immediately went away. My heart began to race. We have an open phones policy since dating, not that we ever use it. And I know he would never cheat on me. But recently we hit a rough patch with our intimacy due to the pregnancy, so I let thoughts of me being unattractive consume me, and I opened up his phone. I'll keep it brief. Hundreds of links to porn in his browser history when he said he never watches it. I was shocked, heartbroken, and confused. Going into his email, he had an OF subscription to multiple women with personalized videos addressed to him. And in his Google search, he was looking for OF women in our area to meet with physically. I cried and went back into our room to put his cell phone back on his charging station. He woke up and asked why I was crying, all concerned. I just said he should ask his OF women, and he looked puzzled. He said they weren't his, and we stayed up all night in distress. We already have full access to each other's everything. But he gave me his email, which I didn't have yet, because it's an email he only uses for quick Google searches, subscriptions to TV show programs, and shopping usually. He let his parents and siblings borrow it for Netflix, but otherwise, it's his. Scrolling down the history, we discovered disturbing titles of that even if some of the actors are 18 plus, could be basically illegal. I flipped out because that wasn't the man I married, but he promised he would prove it wasn't him. We noticed the same Twitter, OF, PH, and emails going to his brother P's computer. P had taken my husband's email address and used it to fuel his PA/SA. He was secretly using it for years to look up disturbing things, make subscriptions for porn with disposable gift cards, all under my husband's name. I was absolutely disgusted. My husband was too. We cried and immediately informed his parents about our discovery. Not only could this get my husband in trouble, but I nearly divorced him, thinking he cheated on me. They said they'll be taking away his devices and talking to him, but this isn't enough for me. The titles were things like sold daughter and young and screaming for help and incest and even bestiality. My husband and my in-laws inform me he wouldn't ever hurt me, but I'm terrified for my son and me. He's already creepy, but now? I can't stand to be around him. I feel threatened. I'm also angry he could do such a thing. Everyone is finding things to blame like autism, and he thinks he will never get a girlfriend. But I've locked myself in our room not wanting to come out. I don't want to see him or hear him. I'm terrified and disgusted being in the same house as him. He knows what he was doing. He knows it's wrong. This punishment wasn't enough in my eyes. Constant panic attacks and anxiety on my end, but my in-laws, I'm sure think I'm being overdramatic and should find a way to forgive him because of his autism. AITA? TLDR. My autistic brother-in-law, 25M, stole my husband's email address to subscribe to OFPH and watch very disturbing, and potentially illegal if the actors weren't 18 plus, videos all under my husband's name. I'm uncomfortable around him and worried for my husband, my son, and my safety. If anyone accuses this of being a fake story, it isn't. I have hundreds of screenshots, videos, etc. to prove. OP is not the AH, and her fear and discomfort are completely valid, given the disturbing nature of her brother-in-law's actions. Autism doesn't excuse potentially illegal behavior. Her in-laws minimizing it is unacceptable. Her priority should be her safety and her child's. As for scores, I would rate OP's 0 and OP's brother-in-law 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Askin-4, a friend. AITA for being upset that my boyfriend still keeps in touch with a previous love interest. Had an 800-day Snapchat streak with a girl, OnlyFans sub and other. My boyfriend, 34M, and I, 35F, met online on a dating app about 9 months ago. He never officially asked me to be his GF, but we established that we are BF-GF at some point during the summer. He doesn't think he needed to ask at our age, so fine. Previous love interest, Before my boyfriend met me, he had met a girl by literally picking her from Instagram and reaching out to her on Instagram before we met. He messaged her and they went out for 2 lunches together as friends, which he says are not dates. I'm not buying, as she was in a relationship at the time and still is. And this was before he met me. They stayed friends, and he still has her on Instagram, and they exchange memes every now and then. I was upset because one of the memes she sent him was about her love language, and he says he doesn't respond to her anymore. But he showed me their chat, and he did respond to some MSGs, just ones that were not to love, but were just a photo of candy from the 90s and a meme about it or something. I just feel it's completely inappropriate for him to stay in touch with an old love interest while in a relationship. But he thinks it's fine because they never went on a date and they're just friends, and he doesn't respond to her MSGs, but he does. Also, if you only went on 2 lunches with someone as friends, and they are not your best friend, so what's the big deal of saying goodbye or cutting off contact with them? Furthermore, I feel like when men fall in love with a woman, these old flings fall off the radar naturally, and I shouldn't have to ask for the bare minimum respect from him. And the girl knows I exist. He posts about me on Instagram all the time, and he did tell her about me, but she still sends him this. So, the girl clearly has no respect for me or her own BF either. His other argument is, what if it was a guy messaging him? I'm like, not the same. You went on 2 dates with this chick, and she's sending you memes about her love languages while you are both in relationship. He has lots of friends that are girls, and I have absolutely no issue with because they don't send him weird lovey shit, and they have no prior dating history. He could meme those other girls all day, and I wouldn't care. OnlyFans. I've also found out he recently deleted his subscription for OnlyFans. I also think is inappropriate to have while in relationship, because it's not just. He did delete his subscription on his own before I found out about it, but I had to ask him to delete his account. And he did. He did say it's just, but understood where I was coming from and deleted the account. Snapchat. He also had a Snapchat streak with a girl that was 800 days long, but he never showed me the snaps, never included me in the snaps, and literally snapped her every day. He says just pictures of the walls, but I never saw any of them so. He did tell me some were selfies of her, and he did, after many arguments about it, and his friend telling him it's mildly inappropriate, he eventually did delete Snapchat altogether. Phone supervision never leaves me unattended with his phone, ever. He could literally go through my phone, and he would not find anything suspicious at all, and I let him use my phone all the time, but God forbid he ever let me near his phone without him there to supervise me. What else is he hiding? Here's the thing, he treats me so well otherwise. He takes me on dates, surprises me with gifts and flowers, comes to my place to visit, my family and friends love him. Heck, my dog loves him more than he loves me. I love his family as well. We have common interests and love spending time together. He makes me laugh. We have traveled together and we travel together well. The stuff in the bedroom is X-rated too. And we do talk about the future together. I can truly see a future with him. I'm just hung up on all this inappropriate behavior while in relationship, at least in my perspective. Some of the things he made changes on, and we are moving on about, but there's still some stuff he won't let go of, like the one previous love interest. He also just doesn't seem to see how bad this stuff looks, or how much it's affecting me. He really doesn't think he's in the wrong, so I'm afraid I'll keep finding more stuff as time goes on because he doesn't get it. He is upset because he thinks I'm accusing him of cheating, and I really don't think he's cheating. Just think some of these acts are defiantly borderline and need to stop if I'm going to continue to feel safe, secure, and loved in this relationship. I don't want to be always looking over his shoulder and telling him what to do. I recently told him how much this is affecting me and how this could push me away and end our relationship, and he was really surprised by that, but I still don't think he gets it. It would really be nice to see him set some clear boundaries with ex-people, but I'm not sure he will. I feel like I'm asking for the bare minimum, respect, and I shouldn't have to ask for that. OP is not the AH. Her concerns about boundaries and respect in a relationship are valid. Her boyfriend's secrecy, past behaviors, and reluctance to set clear boundaries with old flings raise red flags. She deserves transparency and reassurance, not excuses. Not OP, rather OP's boyfriend is an AH. And I would rate OP's boyfriend 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on to the next story from Oogie Goyib. AITA for talking about my best friend's issues with my girlfriend. I, 17M, have been pretty close to a bunch of people I used to call my friend group for about 4 years, and we have known each other since the first grade. After we switched schools for senior years, we kept in contact for a while, but we slowly distanced over time. But I mainly kept contact with one of them, whom I was the closest to since the beginning, and let's name her Michelle. So, me and Michelle bonded even more because she used to talk to me about her ex-boyfriends and her family problems, and I used to stay up all night texting her so that she had someone to talk to. I even went the extra mile and used to text her sister once in a while when she was feeling low to take care of her. However, after some time she started distancing herself from me, taking time to reply, and ghosting me frequently. When I confronted her on this, she said nothing as such happened and told me I was just overthinking it. I even spoke to the others in the group if they knew anything that happened about her sudden change in behavior towards me, and over time, it just kept getting worse even. I stopped trying to save the friendship at a point, because there was nothing that I could do if she wasn't reciprocating the efforts. When I broke up with my ex, she told me that she didn't like how I told her how I used to justify myself about staying on calls with Michelle when she was low, and it made it look like she was a bad person who would judge me for having a girl best friend who I am close to. I told my ex about Michelle's problems because I was new to the relationship and I didn't think it would be okay to be on long calls with another girl instead of spending time with my girlfriend. I told this story to Michelle, and she replied with a very dry reply, which I couldn't make much sense of. Me and Michelle didn't speak for months after this. One day, I decided to meet one of my friends from the friend group we were both a part of, and he asked me to call Michelle as well. I knew she would have given some excuse just to avoid me, but I gave a shot, and she told me she wasn't available to meet. But when he texted her, she was suddenly all ready and available to meet, which was rude, but I put on a nice face and went. She didn't speak a single word to me the whole time. I was very close to tearing up. What made it worse was that when we were all together, I got the reference that they all had a separate group chat without me, and that just twisted the knife more. I made up an excuse for an emergency and left the meetup to avoid making a scene by tearing up. When I went home, I exited the group chat and texted her if I did anything that upset her or made her uncomfortable to treat me as if I was a stranger to her. 2 days later, she replied saying that I had been acting as if I liked her romantically, and it creeped her out, and that she didn't like that I posted our pictures on my stories when we both met up. First of all, I don't want to talk big or anything, but I am very conscious of my actions or words, and I, for one, never made a move, hit on her, or even hinted at anything as such. Secondly, every time we met as a group, she would post the other guys separately and be very okay about it, but she would never post me or repost my stories, even when we were close, which always made me hope she would post mine one day as well, which led me to post her on my stories. If either of the reasons bothered her so much, why didn't she confront me about it? If our friendship did mean something to her, why would she be okay with throwing it away without even trying to fix it? Even after all this happened, not a single person from the group chat texted me, asking why I left the group chat. I was mad and frustrated, and I texted her, saying that I was sorry for making her uncomfortable, and blocked her. After I came back to my senses, I unblocked her, and texted her asking for a conversation to talk about what happened, because there was only so much I could make out from the 30 words vague message she sent me, and see if there was scope to recover the friendship we once had. She didn't reply. On the advice of a friend that I should get closure, and she owes me that at the very least, I texted her 2 weeks later, saying that she couldn't just run away with a very vague reason to end the friendship. She replied, saying she was stressed by college prep, and that she would think about all this after. I don't expect her to do so, though. I found out a few days earlier that one of the mutuals who I strongly dislike, and she made friends with recently in her new school, he is also friends with my ex, so he knows the actual reason for our breakup, gave her a more dramatic story as to why me and my ex broke up, and convinced her that me speaking too much about Michelle and telling her life story to my ex brought the breakup and gaslit her enough into hating me. She even said to him that she didn't like that I told my ex about her without her consent. What's even funnier is that even when she switched schools, I told her to not associate with the guy because all he knows is screwing other people's lives, and yet she chose to believe him over someone who stayed up all night for her and genuinely cared for her as a friend. I can accept my mistake in talking about Michelle's problems with my ex without her consent, but I believe the lack of communication from her side made it worse. I know there's nothing I can do now,
but I just want to know what you'll take on this, because I so do not know to what extent I am at fault.
P.S. Sorry for the essay. Had to give the whole context. OP is not the AH, but he was wrong to share Michelle's personal issues without her consent. However, Michelle handled the situation poorly by avoiding communication and letting others influence her perception of OP unfairly. Lack of mutual effort ruined the friendship. Let's now move on to the next story from charming_ninja_3583.
AITA for refusing to let my boyfriend stay overnight at his female best friend. My boyfriend Kyle and I have been together for 2 years-ish. Mostly things are okay, but I would say the biggest issue is communication. If I say something he doesn't like, it's not uncommon for him to stonewall me and not talk to me for a few hours. I've told him repeatedly that it bothers me deeply when he does this because I was quite literally abandoned in a field by my father when I was 5. I know it's my issue, but even giving me a ballpark figure of when he is coming back helps me to not panic. He won't do that. A lot of times, he will hang up on me mid-sentence, or over anything he doesn't like, and I'll have to try and stay calm until he shows back up. It feels like torture, since he is well aware of my not-so-nice past. I stayed home because of family issues. He went away to college in another city, and it's only made this gap worse. Now, he turns his phone off, and I don't know where he is, what he is doing, or who he is with. I know it's college, but it would be nice to know what's going on instead of being left in the dark. Recently, he mentioned that he was going to a sports event at a college a city over. That is the same college one of the girls he is friends with, let's call her Kelly, goes to. I deeply have always felt off about Kelly. The texts he showed me border on flirty. When they've been together in front of me, it feels off. I can't tell anyone how it just does. He said he was going to go over there and spend the night with her in her dorm room. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, and that while I appreciate the honesty, it feels wrong for him to be sleeping literally in her room. He said, if I was going to cheat, I wouldn't be telling you about it. And ended up stonewalling me again for a few hours when I protested that it really makes me nervous. He finally came back into contact and said that I was being abusive by not letting him have friends. I said I wasn't trying to prevent the friendship, I just felt weird over him staying with her. Well, he went. He is there now. He said he would stay in contact. I asked him to call. He video called, but from the bathroom, and I asked him why he was there. Like I was going to say hi to Kelly and her boyfriend, who I've never met, and she's never mentioned anywhere, but apparently exists, since he was apparently there. And he hung up. Haven't heard from him at all, and it's been hours. AITA. He keeps telling me all the ways I'm abusive or bad, or overreacting, but I feel like there is something off about this. Edit.
There have been other situations like this one coming up frequently, and others, but I was trying to not ramble. There have also been things going on with me, abusive home life, my mental health struggles, that make me think he is right, and I am turning abusive since it's what I'm around constantly. OP is not the AH. Rather, her boyfriend is an AH for manipulating her and dismissing her trauma, and likely be unfaithful. OP's boyfriend's secretive behavior is a huge red flag. OP is not abusive, and her reaction is 100% justified. Rather, OP's boyfriend is an AH, and I would rate him 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on to the next story from Thin-Dream-586. My F27 partner, M37, has screamed at me for 2 days and told me to go back to my home country. AITA, I, 27F, am 29 weeks pregnant. My partner, 27M, has not long come back from a month trip in another country for rehabilitation for a back issue. This was really hard on me, naturally, as I'm in his country and have no friends or family of my own here. His mother stayed with me the whole month, which was also hard since I'm not fluent in their language yet, and pregnancy symptoms, sickness, insomnia, pain, hormones, paired with my partner being away, hit me like a train. He came back and was so angry that I hadn't organized the living room and taken boxes away and made it nice. That the Christmas tree I decorated was that I used the living room shelves for storage. He took our 12-week scans off the fridge because he didn't need to see them anymore,
The baby is bigger now." He shouted at me. I put a box of tissues on the shelf. Whilst he was laying, I sorted the washing, but got out of breath, and he screamed, "If you need to rest, take a rest for sake." At me. He said, "It's not too much to ask to have some tidying and organizing done, pregnant or not. I don't have a job, so why is it an issue?" I got really hurt by this and left the house without saying goodbye. I just went around the city for 2 hours by myself, talking to friends on the phone. When I got back, he said if I did that again without telling him goodbye or saying where I was going, I could leave and not come back. I hung up on him last month when he was shouting at me, and he said it's the same thing. I apologized and said I just needed space, and he said I should say that then, which I guess I can understand, and maybe I am in the wrong for walking out. I just felt overwhelmed. He told me to go back to England if I wanted drama. That really hurt. He said I could have sorted things out with him, but chose to leave instead. But I didn't feel that at the time. He was so angry at me, I thought leaving and coming back would make it better. I was crying as telling me to go back to England hurt so much. He threw a little gift I got him across the room. I, or his mother, didn't notice mold on the kitchen doors/wall at all. But he noticed it and said I wasn't fit to be a mother, or a woman. I was only biologically one and can't look after myself. We sleep on a futon and a tatami, which I roll up around 4 to 5 times a week in the daytime. But I hadn't been doing it every day, as some days I barely could move from bed. He said the darkening on the tatami was mold. I thought it was just from the futon making the hay darker. He said it's ruined. He can't trust me and has no idea who his partner is. He doesn't know me. He threw jewelry he got me across the room and said I was a joke leaving it out on my dresser for our cleaner to steal. I was vomiting. I don't know why. I haven't vomited that much this trimester, and he said that's all I'm good at. After he threw the jewelry boxes across the room, I got extreme pain in my stomach and doubled over, but he ignored me. He told me to sleep on the sofa bed. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if we're together. The baby hasn't moved since Friday night. It's currently Sunday morning. I haven't slept in 2 nights. I have stomach pain. AITA here? I realize I let him down, but I honestly didn't think it was this bad. I don't know what to do. Thanks for reading this. TLDR. Partner blew up after coming home from month-long rehabilitation, unsure where I stand. Update. Thank you to everyone for the responses. The way none of you even questioned my possible fault in the situation was mind-boggling. Because there isn't one. Not one that deserves the reaction anyway. I want everyone to know I went to the hospital and baby is fine. He said he couldn't take me because of his back pain and a cold, so I got a taxi. I was updating him, but he went to see a show we were meant to see instead and had his phone off. So, he didn't see. Then when he got back, I asked if he wanted to see the report, and he said no, he needs to look after himself. Then he ripped a magnet I'd made of us last year on holiday off the wall, because he can't stand it, and said he hopes I'm happy, because I could have sorted it all out with him yesterday and made it all better. But I chose to leave to think for a few hours, and now he has no interest in fixing things. Maybe ever. He said he may not even be here for Christmas. I have told my family, and there are some flights tomorrow. I don't think I'll be able to grab much stuff as he works from home. His mum will also be here, and may try to alert him, but I think he'll just relish in the fact that it was me who left, just like he says it's my fault everything is ruined between us. OP is not the AH. Her partner is abusive, cruel, and emotionally manipulative. He disregards her well-being, insults her, and shows no concern for their unborn child. OP must prioritize her safety and leave. His behavior will only escalate.
Let's now jump on to the next story from
necessary_judge_1786 AITA for slapping my brother's fiancé in the face. I, 21F, have an older brother, 35M. We are half siblings, and my mom had my brother very young. My brother, let's call him Tim, has 2 kids. Mary, 7F, and James, 5M. Their mother died 3 years ago. I loved Tim's wife, Janie. She was like a sister to me, and I miss her dearly. I know Tim and the kids do as well, all fake names. My brother moved out to Colorado, where I am currently a junior in college, for a job opportunity in Denver. My school is about a 45-minute to an hour drive away from their place, so I see them often. Mary comes to my college house to hang out with me and my friends. We do spa nights with her, and all the girly things she's been missing since her mom passed. My boyfriend and James often play video games together during the spa nights. One of my roommates has a dog, so the boys also play with him and take him on walks. In the past, the kids would come over once a month, maybe less, so Tim can get a little break. That's how it's been since my freshman year. However, in the end of last school year, around March, about 10 months ago, Tim met someone. Let's call her Meg. Meg is also 35 and has 3 kids, all girls and around 5 to 9 years old. I'm not exactly sure. At first, I was very happy for Tim and thought this would be great for Mary and James as well. I thought surely this woman, Meg, would make an effort to include my niece and nephew. Tim and Meg dated for a while before introducing each other to their kids. This introduction happened in July. I was in Europe with my boyfriend for around 2 months over the summer, so I didn't know exactly what was doing on. When I returned in August for school, Mary and James' visits to me became very frequent. Like once a week, which is honestly a lot for me because I'm in school and have a pretty busy social life. But I love my niece and nephew, so I was fine with it at first. I still hadn't met Meg at this point. But then, one night in September, Tim dropped both kids off at my door and just left. This was so unlike him. He didn't check with me if they could come. My roommates and I weren't even home. It was a Saturday night at like 11 p.m. So we were out at some event for our sorority. I had no idea they were there. One of my boyfriend's roommates, they live across the street from my house, saw James and Mary sitting on my front porch and brought them to his house, my boyfriend's house. He made them pasta because, apparently, they said they were starving, and watched a movie with them until my boyfriend came home. My phone was dead. My boyfriend called one of my roommates and told me what was going on. I rushed home to get them. On my home, I looked at my Ring camera on my roommate's phone, and they were sitting outside for an hour. Until midnight. They probably would have been sitting out there until 2 in the morning if my neighbor hadn't noticed them. When I got there, they were in tears saying that their daddy was mad at them because they didn't like Meg. My roommate and I comforted them and put them to sleep in my bed. I profusely thanked my neighbor and then decided to call their dad. I was livid. Tim didn't answer any of my calls or texts. The next morning, he responded and said he wanted to spend the night at Meg's, and the kids couldn't come. I guess her kids were at their dad's. I explained that he cannot just drop them with me at any time. I love them, but I am not their parent. Not to mention, that was completely unsafe. He apologized and came to get them, and we moved on. After this thing were fine for a while. I finally met Meg and her kids in October. Tim, Mary, James, Meg, and her kids came to a football game at my school. I quickly noticed there was tension between Meg and my niece and nephew. She barely acknowledged them and seemed annoyed when they talked to her. Her kids were fine though, well-behaved, and very sweet to James and Mary. But Meg was honestly a complete b****. She was not excited to meet me at all. She barely talked to me, my boyfriend, or our friends. She clung to my brother the entire time and gave me dirty looks every time I tried to talk to him. Everyone noticed this. I didn't care if she was rude to me, but I could tell it bothered James and Mary. The rest of the day was fine. They sat in their sections, and I went to the student section and didn't see them the rest of the night. This was the end of October, and there was about 3 weeks where I didn't see the kids after this. So, at this point, it's November. One night, Tim calls me with news. He has proposed to Meg, and they are moving in together. I was shocked. I didn't realize they were this serious, but okay. If he's happy, I'm happy for him. Things continue as normal until 2 nights ago, when Mary calls me crying. She tells me everything. Apparently, since the start of the relationship, Meg has made no effort to get to know Mary and James. She brings presents home for her kids, plays with them, brings her girls to get their nails done, does movie nights, etc. My brother has been included in these things, but Mary said James and her usually have to stay in their room during family time. Meg had moved into Tim's place. It's a huge house, 5 bedrooms. My brother and Meg also made James and Mary share a room, when they used to have their own, so Meg's girls could each have their own room. I was pissed, to say the least. I got in my car with my boyfriend and drove over there. I didn't even knock, I walked right in. They were all in the kitchen, besides Mary and James. Tim was confused why I was there, but I wasted no time. I started asking where my niece and nephew were. Tim said they were in their room. I sort of blacked out what happened because I was so angry, but my boyfriend filled me in. This is probably where I'm the... Apparently, I was screaming at Tim, calling him a bad dad. I was just going off and Tim was silent. Until Meg spoke up. She actually said, "You can't really expect me to be a mother to these kids who aren't mine." I said, "That's exactly what I'm expecting." She then said, "It's not my fault their mother died. They still have their father and you." I looked at Tim, who looked equally shocked. Honestly, I couldn't contain myself. I launched at her and slapped her across the face as hard as I could. My boyfriend had to hold me back. James and Mary ran downstairs at this point. That's the only reason I stopped trying to beat up Meg. Meg was on the floor in tears. I took James and Mary's hands and left. This was yesterday night. Tim has been calling me telling me to bring his kids back, but I'm honestly considering bringing them home with me to my parents' house, their grandparents, for Christmas. My parents definitely don't know this is going on, otherwise they would have said something long ago. But now I don't know what to do. First of all, am I the asshole for showing up there? Second of all, should I tell my parents what has been going on? And third of all, should I take them with me for Christmas? My boyfriend and friends say I'm not the asshole, but I probably shouldn't have slapped her. And I probably shouldn't just take them with me without asking. Leaving James and Mary there with that woman is making me sick. So, Reddit, what do you think? Also, is Meg right for not wanting to step into a mother role for James and Mary? I'm missing some details, but this is most of the situation. Update. Thanks so much for all comments and advice over the past few hours. I want to start off by saying I love these kids more than anything. I would do anything for them. Unfortunately, I'm only 21, and I'm a server/bartender at a local restaurant. After rent and dues, I don't have enough money or time to be a proper parent to my niece and nephew, so I can't take them permanently. If I could, I would. But I'm not financially able to give them everything they need right now. But I loved their mom, and will do everything to make sure her kids always have someone in their corner. Something I forgot to mention in the original post. I hadn't been to my brother's house for a while. When I got there, it was completely redecorated. New furniture, decorations, even paint color. Fine, Meg moved in and wanted to redecorate. But almost all the photos of Janie were removed. There was still 1 or 2 of just Janie and the kids, but every family photo of my brother, Janie, and the kids was gone. There was a large family photo of them in the living room that was replaced by a photo of Meg and Tim. Neither of their kids were in the photo. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it made me go from angry to absolutely livid. I'm not a violent person, but I was so overcome with emotion, and honestly, my heart was broken for my niece and nephew. I just couldn't control myself. For the time I've had Mary and James since the incident, Mary had been begging me to take them to Nana and Pop's, what they call my parents' house. I think James is a bit confused, but knows he wants to stay with Mary, and she has been adamant she doesn't want to see Meg or her dad, and wants to come with me to her grandparents. Okay, now for the update. I took a lot of y'all's advice and called my parents. They live in Florida, so unfortunately, they can't come with me to talk to Tim in person. I wish they could. Although my dad isn't Tim's bio dad, he really looks up to him and sees him as his father. My dad loves Tim like his son. I told them the entire story, including the slap and me taking the kids. My mom was in tears by the end, and my dad was pissed. They love their grandchildren. They knew Tim was getting married, but they haven't met Meg yet, and had no idea she was such a heartless comment. My mom's words, LOL. They called Tim and told him he either needs to go over to my house without Meg and have a calm conversation with me, or they are going to try and get custody of Mary of James, or sue for custody. I don't know what they said. But Tim called me. He asked to come over and talk. My boyfriend and friends are taking the kids to ice cream and the movies, so they will be out of the house. Tim's coming over soon. Will update after we talk. Update. Hey Reddit. Wow, thanks for all the support and different opinions on my situation. So, Tim and I talked. Long story short, I laid everything out. I explained why I took the kids and how what him and Meg are doing is wrong. At first, he was defensive, but by the end he seemed more understanding. So, he agreed that I can take the kids to my parents' house for Christmas. I urged him to come with me, but he's going to stay with Meg and her kids. He then said he will fly down for New Year's without Meg. Meg said she will not be pressing charges if I apologize, so I called her and apologized. I really didn't want to, but had to. I'm still upset at my brother for deciding to spend Christmas with Meg and her kids instead of his own children, but I'll take what I can get. My brother gave me the Christmas presents he got for his kids. Sadly, not enough. He probably only spent around $150 USD total. I know that's a lot for some people, myself included, LOL, but my brother is loaded and should be getting his kids so much more for Christmas in my opinion. But whatever, I'm bringing them to my parents, so I'm happy. Luckily, my parents have a ton of presents and Christmas decorations already put up, and I'm going to get some stuff too, and try and make this the most magical Christmas for my niece and nephew. I don't know what is going to happen with Tim and Meg's relationship, but the kids are going to get to spend Christmas with people who love them. If anything else major happens over New Year's, maybe I'll make an update. Thanks, Reddit. OP is not the AH. Tim neglected his kids, and Meg was outright cruel. Slapping Meg was wrong, but OP acted out of love and protection. Taking the kids to their grandparents was the right move. Tim needs to step up as a father. Let's now jump on to the next story from Chance-Commercial-29 AITA for blocking an online friend after 5 years of friendship. I, 23F, met this online friend of mine. We'll call him Jerry, fake name, from my streaming platform just before COVID struck. I think he is a year older than me and lives in the same country as me. We used to play Minecraft together, with a whole group pretty much the whole time, and different games such as DBD, Apex, anything to pass the time. As we all know, that's what we gamers did during COVID. Well, I first started to notice the red flags with him. He would have friend groups IRL, and within a few weeks or months, he would say that they all turned out to be AHs, and he wanted nothing to do with them. Which is fine. Some people don't get on with others, and that is fine. The next red flag is, one day, maybe 3 months after we had met, we were talking how we met each other, and I was telling the group that me and Jerry had met through streaming. That is when Jerry said, no, we didn't meet through streaming, and I said, yes, of course we did, and that is when my phone started to ring. A call from the dating app Bumble was calling, and it was him. I never realized I had matched with him. We had only chatted for a little bit, and I mentioned in my profile that I was a streamer, and he asked for my streaming handle, and they were pretty much the end of the conversation. That creeped me out slightly, but I got over it because we were great friends by this stage. A few other fights and little things would break out in the group, the majority of it because of him. He would start to make me feel guilty if I decided to play a different game with a different friend or not go online that night. It kind of bothered me, but once we would start playing together, I would forget about what bothered me, and we would have a great time playing whatever together. We met up in 2021, where he came to my hometown. Of course, meeting a friend online, it is always awkward, but it was grand, and he went back to where he lives after a few hours. About a year after that, I got into a relationship, and this is the time where Jerry texted me saying he has something to say to me. He told me that he liked me and always wanted to see where it could go, but now that I am in a relationship, that he just wanted to get it out in the open. TBH, this really just weirded me out, and I didn't talk to him for a few days, but then after a while it all just went back to normal because he was part of the group I played with. Next Realms came to the Minecraft Bedrock Edition. We used to play on worlds that I would create, but my PS4 wouldn't be able to handle the world, and after a few months, the worlds would corrupt.
We then decided to make a realm so that our group could always have a world we could play on together. This world is nearly 4 years in the making. It is a great world where we used to come on together and play and have fun and create whatever we wanted. Our group got smaller and smaller as people move on and do other things. So now it was just myself, Jerry, and the lad who owns the realm world.
Obviously, COVID came to an end, and because I was just out of school, I decided to get a job and work. And in those few years, I have gotten a job I really liked, moved out of my parents' house, and also have a lovely BF who is letting me use his account to vent this out. I don't have the time like I used to have to play games. My work is very stressful some days, and after a day's work, I love coming home, having dinner, read a book, and then bed. I didn't talk to my group that much because I grew up, and just like a lot of you will understand, I just don't have time for video games. So last year, it was Jerry's birthday in September. He was constantly asking me to come down to where he was for a visit, and so I decided I would, but I wanted to bring my BF as I had never visited that place before, and because obviously I didn't want to visit Jerry by myself, just in case. We got the bus down, and immediately when we arrived, it was weird. Jerry was just acting very strangely. He wasn't like the way he was when I first met up with him. We got into his car and went for a drive where he was showing us where he grew up. He drove so fast down back roads, I was honestly very scared. He has crashed 2 previous cars that he swears wasn't his fault. He constantly took sneaky photos of me also when he thought I wasn't looking. I got him a Dobby Lego set for his birthday, and he just immediately sat down and made it and didn't talk to us while doing it. He then turned on his PS5 to show my boyfriend our Minecraft world. Jerry is very proud of it and was constantly talking about different things about it. And it was just like, okay, we get it. Like, let's maybe do something else. BF did not like him after that trip. It also seemed that Jerry did not like my boyfriend and was very standoffish. Anyway, after that trip, the relationship between myself and Jerry was weird. He would try to call me all the time. All the time. He would give out and make me feel awful when we would lose our snap streak on Snapchat. It all just got too much for me. So about 6 months ago, I saw he had kicked me from our Discord group, and I said enough was enough. I blocked him on everything. Literally everywhere. I had never felt such a weight off my shoulders after that day. This is where I feel like an Tonight, I decided I wanted to play Minecraft because I haven't in months, and I think there was a new update. Not sure. I asked the guy who owns the realm, could I still play on the realm, and he said no problem. The last thing I was doing on that world was building gates to a castle. So, I began working on it again, and it was just honestly so lovely to be back on the world after maybe a year of not playing on it. That is when Jerry joins and flew over and broke all of the gates I had, and they tried to kill me. PvP was off, thankfully. I left the world and rejoined after 10 minutes to get a sign where the gates of my castle used to stand that said, "Don't join again. Last warning." He then came back on, not even 2 minutes later, to try and kill me again. Did I take it too far to block him like I did? It just made me feel awful, and obviously has affected him so much he feels the needs to keep the world to himself and to make sure I stay out. I would appreciate anyone's advice.
OP is not the AH. Jerry was possessive, manipulative, and displayed controlling behavior. Blocking him was necessary for OP's well-being. His reaction in Minecraft confirms he's immature and bitter.
Let's now jump on to the next story from
OP simply outgrew the friendship and set healthy boundaries. Opening _ Neat8128. I want to break it off with my boyfriend, but feel like I can't. We've been together for 3 years this past July. He's never laid a hand on me, or yelled at me, or made me feel bad for being my authentic self. As of late though, I don't feel the same spark that I once had with him. In the first year of our relationship, everything was great. I was with him a lot, and enjoyed being with him playing video games and hearing him talk about his passions. I don't know what single event made me rethink of our relationship, but it's been rocky for a while. He's a sweet, caring guy, and I truly do care about him. It's just that sometimes I feel like I'm trapped with him. What I mean by that
is that he's a bit on the clingy side. I told him that I value my personal space, so that includes doing things with other people, such as bonding with my roommates, spending time with my family, going to work-related outings, etc. This meant a lot to me, especially during my college years, recently graduated. My major was chemical engineering, so I had quite a bit of projects, homework, and studying to do on the daily basis, along with working at the same time. It was a lot to juggle every week, but I let him know that I wasn't ignoring him or anything if I happened to not message him back instantly. If I did have time to myself, I just wanted to stay home and do my own thing. Whether that's sleeping, cleaning, playing a game for a couple of hours, that sort of thing. There would be times where he would want to hang out, but I had something happening in the following days, whether that would be an exam, a project that would account for 35% to 45% of my total grade, work, things like that. I had to tell him that when things like this happen, I can't really drop everything and go with him, especially if it's school-related. There were way too many times where I failed a class by a small margin, and I would be upset about it due to it pushing my graduation down a semester. I wanted to get the class right the first time, you know? I would talk to him about it, and he said he understands. The thing, though, is that I don't think he fully understood. What was probably the slow starting decline was when he started getting really pushy about us hanging out, especially at his place. He would say things such as, "You don't want to see me anymore," or, "Just say you don't want to be here." When he would say these things, I felt guilty for saying no in the first place. It became where even if I had something important happening, I would go with him, just to make him happy. At some point, though, he then started pushing for me to stay the night at his apartment. I told him that I would love to, but the campus is 5 miles away from where he is versus half a mile where I live at. But if I did spend the night on a school night, he would have to drop me off on campus due to my scooter not having enough mileage to get there in one go. That would mean, though, us waking up an hour before he goes to work, which is 7 a.m., just to drop me off. Both of those reasons he didn't like one bit. What I'm trying to say is that I feel like he is too overly attached to me. He has a small group of friends that he occasionally hangs out with, but wants to be with me a majority of the time. I told him that if I'm not at school, I'm at work. And if I'm not at work, I'm in school. I had to tell him that our time together is going to get smaller when I get my big girl job, working 13-hour shifts and whatnot. I don't know if he took that well. But I feel this is something worth mentioning, but recently he stalked me at work when I said I was going to go to work early to eat. I was scared when I saw his car parked on the other side of my workplace, just to drive around the perimeter and leave. And he didn't tell me that he did that. He doesn't know that I know of the incident. What makes me feel conflicted with how I'm feeling is that there's things that have happened in my life that make me how I am now. Remember the personal space thing? I was in a home where I didn't have that, where my freedom was constantly at the hands of my parents and older siblings, even as a full-fledged adult. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere outside of work and college-related functions for years. When I had finally moved out of my parents' apartment, I wanted to experience the freedom that I finally had. AITA for feeling this way? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update. And after looking over people's comments, I'm going to talk to him about how I'm feeling tomorrow. It hurts to have to do this, but I at least owe him this conversation. I'm bringing a friend with me just as an extra safety precaution. Would have done it after work, but I feel that unloading something this serious at 1 a.m. in the morning wouldn't be the best move. Until then. OP is not the AH. She communicated boundaries, but her boyfriend repeatedly ignored them, guilt-tripped her, and even stalked her. Her need for space is valid, especially given her past. Breaking up is the right choice for her well-being. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye! See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.